Ready for some snark with your self-care? We've teamed up with today's sponsor, BetterHelp, the therapy platform that's basically the Netflix of mental health. Because why not binge on something actually good for you? Summer's over, school's back in session, and oh look, anxiety and stress decided to RSVP to the party. Fun, right? That's where BetterHelp steps in. After therapy, we've noticed life getting a little less chaotic and a lot more manageable. Match with a pro who has years of experience helping people with struggles similar to yours. Whatever's clogging your mental gears, they're there to help us sort it out. With more than 4 million people already using BetterHelp, why not be part of the mental health club? Seriously, you're not alone. Unless you're one of those people who like being alone, and that's okay too. But you know, be alone with the therapist. So head on over to betterhelp.com/CinemaSins or pick CinemaSins when you sign up to snag a sweet discount on your first month of therapy. Because who doesn't want a little professional help with this whole adulting thing? Simulating the experience of falling into a quantum tesseract where you perceive one logo for an infinite amount of time.
On New Body, they were joined by the mighty Tarak.
This is going to give us a rundown of every character from part 1. It's like when you watch the World Series and you're ready for the game to start and the broadcast decides to show you 20 minutes of announcing 2 entire teams' rosters, from the star first baseman to the trainers.
But he's far from recovered.
Oh, for f***'s sake, at the end of part 1, I thought Noble was recovered. He let out a tremendous scream to end the movie. Why are we wasting time with this? Part 2, right from the jump, gives us no sense of urgency. Oh yeah, this doctor guy and his assistants definitely need all 5 of those flashlights coming out of their faces. Flashlight faces are not merely inherited, they are earned in the fires of aisle 8 at Home Depot. Also, you gotta love this chief doctor with his finely tuned pointing game and other gestures. Like a maestro, he gives orders to his underlings to press that button and rip that cocoon. Amazing stuff. This looks like Masks on Horses because it's masks on horses.
How many of them?
6.
Do you know how you can cut this dialogue? You simply put Eris outside when everyone returns home so he can see all this for himself. There's no reason why he was back here doing maintenance on a... What is this? A well? Anyway, nearly everything in this movie makes you yell, "Get on with it!" I'm going to invent this machine where you can make phone calls with a radio that has a bunch of dials and doodads from 1934. But by the time the call is answered, you'll get a full miniaturized hologram version of the person you're talking to encased in a jar. Man, I've smoked a lot of weed.
Ensure that the harvest is brought in as planned and ready for our arrival in 5 days' time.
I understand that Velt is a small moon, but it feels weird to me that this apparently is the only village that makes wheat here. It's funny how sci-fi movies sum up a moon or a planet by a village or two and decides this vast world doesn't have tons of villages everywhere. If this is the only place that can make wheat, wouldn't it be fairly rich due to the needs of the rest of the moon? I'm not buying that for 1 minute. It's just lazy stuff with absolutely no consideration for how big a world is.
Come.
Look, the food looks amazing, but I need to be romanced first. You can't just order me to do it.
To swallow their pride enough to even ask for help, that is bravery itself.
I think it's okay to say asking for help is not a bad thing, and no one should be judged for that, but why do we have to go the extra mile to call that bravery?
It's Imperial protocol in the event of an admiral's death to return to the mother world at once.
You know, anything where a waste of time is required, they're on it.
Hagen.
Yes?
Call your villagers. Let me talk to them.
Talking to the villagers requires me to pull out my gun menacingly.
In time, we will teach you how to fight.
The bad news is you only got 5 days to become warriors. We lost our Matrix downloading machine in a fire. But don't worry.
Now, how long does it take to bring in your crop?
Half a cycle around Mara.
You can tell me a certain amount of days, weeks, and months, old man. This fucking time measurement and lunar rotational cycles ain't gonna cut it.
The work begins at dawn.
You heard the man. Dawn.
Hagen is the hype man this movie deserves. Wait, I knew he liked her, but I wasn't really getting a vibe that she liked him. It's a completely forced romance based on because the script said so. This is like Rebel Moon's more X-rated version of Hermione and Ron. Being the type of king who sees musicians playing with bags over their heads and thinks, well, isn't that fun? Also, why do these string players have black sacks over their heads again? The Mother World seems like an interesting and f***ed up place to explore, but we never get much world building beyond a weird visual or two. Let's see, strings playing, an ominous murder song, loads of stabby weapons, a ceremony christening of the new dreadnought marred by an assassination. I guess I'll call this the Red Dreading. Movie will never bring up the strange light that shot out of the princess when she is shot, as if that is normal. I would just like to point out that the band is still playing, as some kind of metaphor about the movie sinking like the Titanic.
I fought my way to the shuttle.
Apparently there wasn't any way to stop my shuttle from leaving the dreadnought. The control room often sleeps during christenings. Gunnar is way too comfortable with Cora's story about the time she took part in a political assassination. Oh, babe, that's just because you're not like other girls.
Good morning!
is the wake-up call. Wake up, everyone. People, get up. It's time to work.
Of all the things this movie chose to waste time on, this wake-up scene just might be the worst.
Come on, you lazy people. Wake up. We don't have much time.
Nope, definitely the worst. Exciting slow-motion wheat-cutting action. I don't get it. This platform they're putting the wheat on is being pulled by the Iraqi, but there aren't any wheels underneath. It's semi-floating. What is an advantage of a hovering platform if it needs to be pulled like we're playing Oregon Trail? Aw, man, they dragged the poor black hole from Interstellar into this mess, didn't they?
Let me help you with your evaluation.
I see Admiral Noble went to the Harkonnen School of Executive Leadership, showing Jesus imagery and a literal resurrection, all to communicate that Noble thinks of himself as the savior of the Imperium. I am humbled by this deepness, deepening the depths of the deepest deep to ever deepen deeply. Harvesting wheat just got a whole lot sexier. Oh yeah. Bathe yourself in that wheat, baby. Become one with the wheat. Kids, dipping your entire flask in the water after putting your mouth on it. There was a clear way to do the wheat harvest in a quick montage and pass the 3 days in a snap. But movie's way more interested in simply showing you that work is being done in the least interesting way possible.
I know you all come from places much richer and more sophisticated than here, so I hope my gifts don't insult you with their simplicity.
Choosing a lead in that suggests someone is about to receive a gift.
Young Melius, who shines as the sun upon our faces.
I'm sorry, I still don't know who this is.
Gunnar, you are our heart. You give us hope.
Does no one remember that it was his fault the Empire struck back? So Den got a very small blanket as well, but we didn't get to hear about how he is the rope that binds us on BDSM night, I assume. So, still showing the partying, huh? I'm guessing this scene is so long because, hey, this is possibly their last chance to unwind before they die, and we want to show what a close-knit community this is, and this is important to show before they go into battle. Well, not for me. Jaimon Hansu's beautiful rendition of Ode to Ancestors deserved a better movie.
We start by moving the grain into the village so that they can't shoot us from orbit without risking its destruction.
My question is, why weren't these sacks being taken one by one to the village once they milled the wheat into grain in the first place? Oh yeah, you had a party to plan, never mind. Also, this strategy is very far from the ace in the hole that this movie wants me to believe it is. Given everything we know about the Imperium from the first movie, it seems much more likely that they would be willing to destroy you and the grain, rather than make themselves look weak in any way. So moving the grain only really leaves them with two options. If you agree to give them the grain, they take it, then they come back and shoot you after. If you refuse to give them the grain, they have nothing to lose, so they shoot you and the grain together. Granted, Admiral Noble won't figure this out, which I'm sure is mostly due to him being busy going to Pound Town with the squid that is notably absent from Part 2. Seriously, I was nearly positive its nickname was a Scargiver.
Gather an account for every hunting rifle.
The movie suggests that this weapon is used for hunting.
We'll need to dig defensive positions to give us the element of surprise.
I didn't buy that they harvested all the wheat in 3 days, and I sure as don't buy that they dug trenches in the remaining 2. At least not without everyone being so tired that they sleep through the battle the next day. Why does this shot look way too much like this shot from Evil Dead and the posters for Kid Sheriff and Holes?
The ship Cora was found in still rests in the mountains to the east.
This narration makes it feel like the movie forgot that it just said,
That's Cora's dropship. She was in bad shape when I dragged her out.
like 10 seconds ago. Also, does anyone think this might have been a good use of the time back in Part 1, when Cora needed a ship to find all the warriors on the different planets, and not needing Charlie Hunnam in the first place? They discover that this ship works like a dream after they pull it out. It's almost like it was convenient for the plot of Part 1 that they didn't think about this ship, and now it's convenient for Part 2 that they remember it exists. The movie sure likes inserting random shots of Jimmy just so we don't forget that he's around and contributing nothing to the story.
Everyone must share the truth.
So begins this movie's long tangent going around to each member of this group to tell their story. Seriously, the scene goes on for 10 minutes. If the 2 movies had done their job, these stories would be something both we, the audience, and they, the characters, should already know at this point in the film. Here, have 10 cents.
We fought the forces of the mother world till our gums were dry.
But why were they wet to begin with?
To punish me, my men were executed before my eyes.
And Belisarius just let you live? And I guess let you go? But why? I think the movie is telling us that in order to use these weapons, you need to use these specialized arms, and therefore you have to cut off your own arms to use them. And I think once a weapon requires you to cut off your own limbs for it to work, you might want to send this idea back to R&D. Also, not respecting the adage, measure twice, cut once.
By the bloodlust of my ancestors, Still lived in those ancient gauntlets.
I would love to have seen this bloodlust and perhaps learn how exactly it can be infused into robot hands. Man, what a cool battle this would have been to see in all its glory. We saw Bennu in the first movie, but this scene casually throws a bunch of them into the mix, which would be f***ing epic, but we only see them briefly in a flashback. I guess it's possible we'll see them in a full-scale battle someday, but for now, this is just a monumental tease.
Soon after, their ships darkened our skies.
And I became a scrappy young reporter for the local Tribune.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
I only tell the princess-killing story of the guys I f***.
Negotiate a trade. You think they would listen?
I do.
F***ing what? You just told a whole story about the last time you tried to negotiate with the Imperium, and they murdered all your men in front of you with a big space gun. So, again, I say, f***ing what? If you needed a break from that thrilling 10 minutes of flashbacks, the movie plays this ship flying towards Velt for a full 30 seconds.
Hello, James.
We have not seen a single scene where these two formed this first-name basis relationship. Hologram technology reaches a new era of stupidity here. You're telling me that you have to physically turn this giant cylinder with the image inside just to get it into landscape mode? And the image isn't even good! A Game Boy screen beats this shit!
It's the grain.
Dude, in this movie, it's always the grain. Cutting your hair is part of your character transformation cliche. Whoever designed this ship in a way that it reduces visibility for the entire landing party. Also, Jesus Christ, what's with all the smoke? I guess they're even more evil now because they pollute the environment in addition to conquering planets and killing millions of people. It's as if these ships are powered by a combination of coal and black tar heroin. No, seriously, every single scene feels like it will only give way to another scene if the editor pries it from the movie's cold, dead fingers.
And I should take nothing, yes?
She just said,
Take the grain you need to feed your men on your voyage back to the Motherworld.
And you are about to say,
I could take the grain you offered.
Why does the dialogue in this movie have to waste so much time?
And leave the villagers their lives. There would be one cost to this concession, however. And that cost is you.
Core wants to take this deal, even though every flashback and story we've heard about the Motherworld is these guys don't keep their promises.
Arthurleus herself. Arthurleus, surrender to me. It's time, Arthurleus.
Arthurleus, 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 Arthurleus. Oh, Arthurleus. The gong sounds, telling the villagers the battle is on, and one dude comes out of the ground to shoot one ship. Admittedly, it's pretty devastating, but then it takes forever for the next couple of people to emerge from the ground. Why not start with a handful of villagers with less destructive weapon? Kill as many people as possible, and then use the big whammy tallywhacker for the knockout blow. Also, with all that talk about the protocol is to go straight back to the Motherworld if the Admiral gets killed, you'd think that would have been part of the strategy if anyone had the chance to kill Noble, which is exactly the chance they had here, and just decided not to go with it. I also suspect that the movie wouldn't follow that rule in this situation anyway, but still. How can you build this bunker and not have someone ready to shoot as soon as someone jumped down there? This is f***ing malpractice. Looks like they decided to leave guard duty to Barney Fife down here. The difference being Barney Fife would be ready to shoot. I mean, what is she doing here? Looks like she's standing down here wearing a hand warmer. Is it protocol for a ship to just leave a hatch open during takeoff? What a lucky break for these procrastinating bunker f***s. Otherwise, this guy would have missed his chance. Okay, guys, when we break down the door, we'll have this guy with a long-range weapon and then 4 other dudes with close-range weapons. Savvy? Sir, shouldn't we bring in some more long-range weapons? Yeah, probably. Anyway, on to phase 2, the victory speech. John will propose a toast, and Bob will... While Nemesis kicks ass in the usual 1x1 fighting formation preferred by movie villains everywhere, I'd like to focus on Ike, the guy over here on the right, who watches his buddy fall down in front of him, and then he spends the rest of the time practicing his crouching. Also, I can't prove it, but I truly believe Zack Snyder is just trolling us with the slow motion at this point. I don't know when this technique lost all of its usefulness, but it's probably somewhere in the middle of 300. There are moments where it feels like it works, and then there are times like these where emphasizing the speed of the battle would go a long way in making it more exciting. I don't think Snyder has ever learned the difference.
Eyes to the right!
Eris identifies the soldiers about to breach the doors, but does absolutely nothing once they kick the doors in. B-Team also came in with one guy holding a gun while 2 twerps hold blades. How did the Motherworld ever conquer anything? I've got a hot blue blade, but here's a punch! Yeah, what could you possibly do to prevent this from happening? It's not like you have a gun or anything. Den runs after Noble, and in a quick shot, we see him crash into someone and drop his gun. And even though that would take all of 2 seconds to pick up, he decided to keep running and engage Noble in fisticuffs instead, prolonging this movie. Noble somehow slits Den's throat by cutting his chest.
Here.
Gunnar decides to mansplain the location of the big ship directly in front of them.
When I give the signal, start to smoke.
Which will be about 10 seconds from now and come in the form of me saying,
Start now.
But it was very important for me to get you ready for that. I call bullshit on this smoke grenade staying in place for the duration of their journey.
That ship is taking damage.
Also, we should definitely not ask the pilot to identify themselves or anything. Let's all just agree that no one can ever trick us. Wait, just wait a minute. You have a perfect spot to set up an explosive in case soldiers walked over this bridge and you just didn't fucking do that?
For Sindri!
I don't think you running out wildly while using no strategy whatsoever is honoring him in the way you think it is.
Are you ready to fight and die?
Okay, guys, let's get a second take on the fight and die line. And wait, where did everybody go? I'm going to chalk this up to a soldier being distracted by the battle in another direction, but I honestly can't figure out why no one knew there would be soldiers in this house. Before all the ships came down here, Noble and the upper brass were able to scan the whole village and discover that the Veltians hid the women and children in one place. It would stand to reason they would have known where everyone was hiding before this battle even started. After her arm gets cut off, they all wait almost 15 seconds before resuming the fight. This guy just walks off screen because the fight choreography wasn't ready for him yet.
Admiral, by now the Crypteia must have captured the women and children. We are still waiting for an update, sir.
But you guys have an amazing hologram scanner that can give you the entire lay of the land. Why can't you use that right now and see what's going on in the house where you saw the women and the children? I agree it's not the same as having an actual confirmation, but you'd probably be able to connect the dots. Titus goes in for the body slam, and somehow no one is able to shoot him at any point during this entire exchange. And I feel like the movie cutting away after the successful body slam is a hero too, because in all reality, Titus is dead here if the movie stays on this shot. But it doesn't, so the movie can ask us to swallow any bullshit it wants. So you see a guy about to set off a bomb, what's your solution? Do you try and shoot the guy to stop it? Or do you run in a direction where there is no immediate escape? The beeping gets faster, as if this thing is on a timer. But in the end, he detonates the explosives by hand. First, if it was on a timer, your sacrifice would be dumb. Second, if it wasn't on a timer, then this sound effect was purely here for the audience, and that would be dumb.
2 minutes out, visual inspection on the elevator.
The amount of luck they have here with the medics not immediately checking them for bullet holes is equal and opposite to how unlucky it would have been to be 2 soldiers who were actually bleeding out. Nemesis kills the last one of these dudes. Awesome. Grand. Now the movie wants to wallow in the tragedy that is Nemesis's death, which it could easily do after the battle is over, but the movie completely stops dead in its tracks here for 2 fucking minutes while a battle rages on outside. So were these two just hugging on the ground during all this? The kicking of this guy will require 2 shots so that you know he is properly kicked. I also have questions about how Tarek made it this far wielding only an axe, but I guess it's not the stupidest thing about this movie. This is the premature celebration that is ever premature. The Mother Worlders bring this thing into battle, and you're like, oh no, but your worry is unfounded, because all this thing hits is the gong, and then the area around the gong, not actual people or anything.
Help me with this helmet. Support the neck.
Holy shit, what is Cora waiting for? Just kick all the asses already. There's an old joke about how if you cut the slow-mo out of a Zack Snyder movie, you could cut the movie's runtime in half. And while that's 100% true with this movie as well, I think you can make a case that another 30 minutes could have been cut just from the unnecessary footage this movie plays to begin every scene. Why doesn't this just start here?
Okay, this one's pulse is very low.
You're right, guys, time for a kiss. This epic, scorching romance cannot be held back by the time constraints, or the fact that you're smack dab in the middle of an enemy ship where anyone can walk through a door and see you at any time. It's not like you just wiped out this ship's entire medical staff and that might raise alarms once discovered.
I got it. Be quick.
You just spent the last 10 seconds planning a smooch on your lady and you're telling her to be quick? There's been like a lot of fighting to the point where some of your team already thought they won for a second and you're just checking in on the action now? And that leads us to the vomitarium. Why do they call it the vomitarium, Phil? Also, I find it hilarious that the brains of this ship are located in this cinematically pleasing arena, complete with a Star Wars-style walkway and the chance of getting hit by a sniper in an Unreal Tournament. The tank blows up the house and the movie just can't leave this shot. Sure, people died, but the movie reduces them to red silhouettes on a radar, and there's no emotional investment, especially to the tune of a 13-second explosion shot. Won't be needing this anymore. Cora, are you thinking of running here? Or maybe taking the explosives out of the bag as you go? No? Okay, you probably know better than me. You're in the movie. During this lackluster battle, we constantly see tons of people shooting a full world's worth of ammunition. Honestly, no one from this village should be alive after such an onslaught. But that's exactly what the movie keeps telling us when it cuts back to the villagers. Anyway, when an action scene is shot this way, it's pretty safe to say that, guys, I have no idea what's going on. And here we have Milius walking through the battlefield through a ton of crossfire, and it's like, whatever, they missed. Go fuck yourself. For fuck's sake, press the buttons! Oh no, she woke up the Satan. I'm sure there will be huge consequences for this, and the movie won't just cut away and never return to this again. That would just be stupid. This guy barely tries to not get shot while in the act of barely trying. Ah, surprise coal shoveling. Wait, this fucking thing runs on coal? I can't quite explain why this slow-mo shot out of all of them angers me the most, but it does. It's 100% worthless.
He said a woman has infiltrated the ship.
I guess this is supposed to tip them off that it's Cora, but the way that it's played feels more like they're shocked that a woman left the kitchen.
Arthales is aboard the ship. That is impossible.
They have such stringent protocols. It would take a genius of 1,000 magnitudes to enter this ship undetected.
You may fire on the village. Sir, the grain.
Yeah, about that. They've already been firing on the village and endangering the grain. You might say, well, they've been avoiding the buildings with the grain, but they really haven't been. Case in point is when this tank thing was shooting up one of the barns with the grain all around it, not to mention all the stray gunfire we've been seeing for the last 20 minutes.
There's no need for the grain now.
Is he even allowed to utter such blasphemy?
Charge the guns.
Main gun?
Oh, there's no way this won't take as long as the Death Star trying to blow up the Rebel base in A New Hope. You can book that shit. Yeah, sure, there's absolutely no reason to have a guard facing another way in this area of the ship. All eyes focused on the door, nothing else. I could be wrong, but I think this is the first time we've seen Tarek and Titus since the tank came in and started shooting up the place. They were on the front lines of that nonsense, and I can't believe they aren't dead. How did they survive that onslaught? I have no idea where we are geography-wise anymore. You'd think there would be an overhead shot now and then that would clue us into the overall picture, but you would be wrong.
Come on.
Milius and Tarek decided to stand up into the crossfire to shoot instead of staying low and firing from cover, as was the style at the time. Every time the good guys look like sitting ducks, some asshole chucks something explosive their way that falls just short, and the resulting explosion causes the bad guys to stop firing. We finally see RoboCopkins fulfill his only real purpose in this movie and become a Deus Ex Literal Machina. I don't really know why it took so long for Jimmy the Robot to figure out what he needed to do to make a difference in this movie, but I'm going to give it $1,000,000. What exactly did he finally see that got him to fight for Velt? This motherfucker took longer than Deep Thought coming up with 42 to make a decision. And seeing how much ass he kicks, it was fucking criminal he wasn't turned around sooner. As a Deerbot, I would have expected Jimmy to do a 4-point landing. Oh my god, this slow-ass fucking turret on this ship. What makes this even more agonizing is Zack Snyder isn't even using slow motion. It's just old and decrepit like a mummy's c***. No, you're seeing this right. This devastating warship uses little steering wheels to turn one of its main weapons, as if you're on one of those jungle gyms where you used to pretend to be a fireman. Honk, honk, I'm a fireman! Hey, Sally, that's my gum! Stop hitting me. I'm not friends with you anymore. Honk, honk! Cora makes a surprise attack from the elevator, and she kicks 2 soldiers, supposedly causing all the soldiers behind them to fall like dominoes. But several of these guys are clearly running the other way after this happens. Anyway, this is a long way of saying this works. The guy with the sword blocks a few rounds, but none of these other guys try not to get shot. I mean, action scenes like this are just plain hateful. Cora sees the 2 guys coming down the other hallway and she shoots them. But this guy with the blue sword just stands there and watches them get killed. Not to mention the others we can't see off screen who are clearly just spectating. The fact that the handle of this lightsaber gets hot is an interesting detail that serves little purpose, outside of maybe explaining why Nemesis had to cut her arms off. So it's truly unfortunate to find out that this is a problem easily solved with an oven mitt. Day 2 of the turret on this ship moving included a talent show, body surfing, and hot dog eating contest. You know, all in celebration of the mighty turret, which grants a wish to a child when it's ready to fire. Also, I hope this means the guy is spinning the other wheel right now. Let's check in on that important update. Yep, he's turning the wheel, guys! He's turning it! Cora wraps this sword up tight so her hands won't burn, and that's holy shit, movie. You're giving me another shot of this guy turning a steering wheel. Rebel Moon Part 2, the Scargiver, you spoil me. Day 3 of the turret on this ship moving included mostly panels on pool safety, skate surfing, and kaleidoscope repair. The 36th annual Candy Apple Bob Slob was canceled due to a Legionnaire's disease outbreak. Schedule is still a go for tomorrow. Guys, I need some private time right now. I'll have the necktie hanging on the doorknob, so respect my wishes. These guys wander around this room all confused for some reason and never notice the obvious bombs being obvious bombs.
The gun is charged and ready to fire.
And yet here it is, still requiring something to fire.
It's Cora.
Well, it could have been Gooner. It wasn't, but it could have been.
Take her.
I thought Noble wanted all the glory in this fight, and he's been turned superhuman, nay, full Ivan Drago. But then he lets this underling go in for the fight first, which makes no sense. Furthermore, like a true boyfriend, Gunner shoots the underling first, as if Cora couldn't handle this guy by herself. Noble was the one who needed killing, but he wastes the element of surprise on this D-bag. This movie introduces a fun problem for the movie's Korra versus Noble fight, and it pretty much does nothing with it. Nobody takes advantage of the physics in any creative way. None of the obstacles they run into present a new challenge that creates an interesting fight dynamic. It's just punchy, slashy, crashy, slidey for the most part. Jackie Chan looked at this scene and came up with 182 awesome things he would have done with it we'll never see. Do you think Ed Skrein gets tired of doing fight scenes on capsizing ships?
Open your eyes. Open your eyes!
Vanilla Sky! Vanilla Sky! How? And how at this angle? If you recall, at the angle they're at, there's nothing but a floor which acts as a wall behind Noble right now. It's also worth noting that Gunnar thrusts this sword at the lowest angle possible to get this satisfying shot of it running upwards through the chest, which is not possible given the wide shot that established how everything was positioned. Also, it is by complete luck that Gunnar didn't accidentally kill Korra right here. Ship is sure taking its sweet-ass time falling out of the sky. The ship drags on the floor of the dreadnought while it tries to gain enough thrust to fly out of the ship that is crashing, and it is inclined vertically, and I guess we're just going to accept this. Is this house even real? And I don't mean CGI. I mean, like, did someone build this specifically to be destroyed by a crashing ship?
I know what you are.
Skip! The Rebel Alliance comes in for mop-up duty, and they blow up the remaining fighters on the ground, which makes me wonder what was going on after Jimmy the Robot kicked all that ass earlier. Was everyone just standing around until these guys showed up? Also, sure was good of them to be out of the way of the good guys so that they could be wiped out so easily. Well, I'm sure everyone appreciates them showing up, but how did they even know the configuration of the forces on the ground? This kiss is so awkward that it's making me uncomfortable. During the entire time that this war was going on, how the f*** is Titus still on this bridge after everything that happened since we last saw him?
Look, it's their rebel attacks. The entire rebel fleet.
She says, after they already arrived and blew everything up and is no longer useful knowledge. Oh no, they set Gunnar's beach towel on fire. That piece of cloth meant more to me than Gunnar himself.
All of you. Honor the fallen.
This lady just arrived, and she's telling these people what to feel about their own ceremony.
You honor my brother and his bravery.
Do not speak of me when you speak of honor and bravery.
They actually weren't speaking of you at all. You are the one who suddenly decided to make this about you, and it's f***ing weird.
But you were not her assassin, for the princess is still alive.
Holy shit, they're gonna try and make another one of these. Rebel Moon Part 3, now with even more wheat. But there is one problem with that. You see, I hated the first two.
If I can be of use, I do have this.
Thanks?
The grain most commonly ground into flour is wheat.
What the f? Dude, they're mooning us!
Apparently it's me.
God? Mankind, that word should have new meaning for all of us today. We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore.
I felt the only way to honor her was to run and try to be, I don't know, more than a weapon.
I am not a gun.
Why do you stand there staring at me? Cowards! Give me a f***ing answer! What don't you get about it? F***'s sake, man, you're amateur.
It seems our young private has chosen a side.
Short, shriveled, and always to the left.
Is this on? Is this thing on?
Oh, if I see a hole, I'll hide in that hole.
I know now why you cry, but it's something I can never do.
Suck on this a one time!
Intruder alert. Repeat, intruder alert.
Sending backup.
Please state the nature of the medical emergency.
He said a woman has infiltrated the ship.
A woman? I always had a thing for you, Sid!
I've lied to you. To all of you.
I shot a kid.
If you do choose to fight, I will stand with you.
All of us.
And my axe.